How America's fisheries rebounded from collapse and overregulation. By the late 20th century, many of America's fisheries faced collapse due to decades of overfishing, poor management, and weak enforcement of sustainable practices. Fish stocks such as Atlantic cod, red snapper, and Pacific groundfish were severely depleted, threatening marine ecosystems and coastal economies. At the same time, excessive government regulation, implemented in response to these crises, often created rigid, one-size-fits-all policies that restricted fishermen without necessarily improving conservation outcomes. Yet, through a mix of science-based management, economic incentives, and local collaboration, U.S. fisheries have staged one of the most remarkable recoveries in modern environmental policy. The turning point came with the Magnuson-Stevens Fishery Conservation and Management Act (MSA), originally passed in 1976 and strengthened in 1996 and 2006. This law extended U.S. control over coastal waters to 200 miles offshore and established 8 regional fishery management councils to develop tailored plans for sustainable harvests. The 1996 and 2006 amendments introduced strict limits on overfishing, mandatory rebuilding timelines for depleted stocks, and greater reliance on scientific data to set catch limits. These reforms shifted fisheries management from reactive crisis response to proactive conservation. One of the most transformative innovations was the adoption of catch share programs, also called individual transferable quotas, or ITQs. Instead of imposing short, chaotic fishing seasons, catch shares allocated each fisherman a specific portion of the annual allowable catch. This gave fishermen an incentive to fish more efficiently, avoid waste, and support long-term sustainability, since their future income depended on healthy fish populations. The Alaskan halibut and sablefish fisheries, among the first to adopt catch shares in the 1990s, saw dramatic reductions in bycatch and, derby-style, overfishing. Other regions soon followed, with similar successes. Equally important were ecosystem-based management and improved scientific monitoring. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and regional councils began integrating habitat protection, bycatch reduction, and climate considerations into management decisions. Enhanced stock assessments and observer programs provided real-time data to adjust quotas responsibly. Over time, collaboration between regulators, scientists, and fishermen replaced the adversarial dynamic that had defined earlier decades. By the 2010s, these efforts bore fruit. According to NOAA, overfishing in U.S. waters fell to historic lows, and dozens of once depleted fish stocks were declared fully rebuilt. The United States emerged as a global model for sustainable fisheries management, balancing ecological health with economic viability. In essence, America's fisheries rebounded because policy evolved from rigid regulation to adaptive, science-based stewardship. By aligning economic incentives with conservation goals, empowering local decision-making, and grounding management in transparent data, the U.S. transformed a story of depletion into one of recovery and resilience. Word count: approximately 450.